Good morning and welcome to Moments with Melinda. I am your host, Melinda Moulton, and with me is Alison Nihart. Hi, Alison. How are you?
Hi, Melinda. I'm doing all right. Thanks for having me.
It's really great to have you on my show. I've been wanting to interview you for quite a while. Now, to my viewers who don't know you, let me tell them a little bit about you. Alison Nihart is the Vermont State Director of Rights and Democracy. She holds a Master's of Natural Resources from the University of Vermont, where she studied urban agriculture policy. She was a strategic implementation specialist for the UVM Extension's 2018 strategic plan and assistant to the Food Systems Initiative. She serves on the board of the Vermont Agrarian Commons. That's an illustrious career for such a young woman. But Alison, let's start at the beginning. Would you share a little bit about your early life growing up?
Absolutely. I grew up in Rochester, New York, in Western New York, and I came from a middle-class family. My mother was a stay-at-home mom after my sister and I were born. So we had a lot of, I would describe, really wholesome family moments with a lot of homemade food and gardening experiences with my mother, going on family camping trips and bike rides. When I was in fourth grade, my parents asked me if I wanted to leave school and be homeschooled. And that was a really key moment in my life because I chose to leave school and did not go back into a classroom until my first day of college. So I had a really positive experience growing up in a supportive homeschooling community in Rochester, New York. We had a variety of clubs and extracurricular activities we did. I did a lot of music and dance when I was young, really uh, gave me a lot of opportunities to feel a lot of connection to the arts and really helped me appreciate the value of um, learning for its own sake and for your own desire for knowledge and for skills and appreciation for the community that makes it possible, not just being sequestered off with a bunch of people in a very narrow age range, but to be in community with children of different ages, older and younger, the adults that were around, the parents of my friends that I grew close with and still consider to be, my own friends. So, so that was a really, I think, unusual experience, but very, very positive for one for me.
Thank you. So you began your career focused on the urban agricultural systems. Talk to us a little bit about that work.
Yeah, so my first job out of college was actually working for an energy efficiency nonprofit. I kind of ended my college thinking I want to do something in the environmental nonprofit world. I got into energy efficiency, and I learned a lot in that first job. But I realized that what had really been calling to me about doing environmental work was the way that we as humans are connected to the earth. And so I decided to study uh, agriculture and sustainable agriculture and food systems because you know, the way we eat is one of the largest, really the largest impact that we have as individuals because of the land mass that's required to support us. When I arrived at University of Vermont, I had no idea what I wanted to study specifically in that field. And I started reaching out and ended up connecting with a group in Burlington that was interested in figuring out how to better support the urban agriculture community in Burlington, community gardens, people who wanted to keep chickens, people who wanted to build hoop houses on their front lawns, but they were being told they weren't allowed to. And I did a community action project with the Urban Agriculture Task Force, which resulted in a report to City Council and ultimately some new ordinances being adopted that better supported Burlingtonians' abilities to grow their own food on their property, in community gardens and such. It was a really interesting way to learn about the Burlington community and the types of policies that affect what people do on their own property and for commercial agricultural enterprises, and also to get exposure to the policy process. I had never been intimately familiar with how you go from an idea to something being adapted by a governmental body.
Good for you. Good for you. Now let's move into rights and democracy. You are the Vermont State Director of Rights and Democracy, which also has a chapter in New Hampshire. So what drew you to this community building work?
Yeah, well, I'm actually the executive director now. So in addition to being the state director, I have been overseeing the work in both of our states. So we are a bi-state organization, and we do organizing in Vermont and New Hampshire. But I do live in Vermont, and I got involved with the organization originally in 2016. And I had been looking for what I would describe as a political home. I had been trying to find a place to get involved as a volunteer with an organization or a group of people who I felt shared my values and shared my vision for a different way the world could work. And I went to a gubernatorial forum that Rights and Democracy was hosting in Middlebury with candidates for governor in 2016, spring of 2016. And I was just really impressed by the questions that were being asked and the way that the moderator was pressing the candidates on things that I thought were really important and were asking the questions in a way that matched my kind of assessment of the world and what changes we needed to see. Um, at first, I got involved as a volunteer. I was pretty quickly recruited into supporting some elections, some electoral candidates, and then getting involved as a leader on the leadership committee and then as a board member. I think the thing that really sticks with me from that era of my political evolution is that I think culturally, I grew up with messaging around politicians are corrupt. It's wrong to seek power. It's if you get into a position of power, you will inevitably become corrupt. And the person who invited me to get more involved in the organization helped me have a different understanding of power. And he said, if we, as the people who are impacted by the laws and regulations that govern society, aren't at the table, and it's only the business elites and people with a lot of wealth, people who are seeking power for their own betterment, their own, enrichment, rather than on behalf of their communities, they're going to be the ones who are continuing to implement laws and policy that don't benefit the rest of us. So we need to be brave enough to say, we want that power and to build power in a way where if a particular individual is elected to office, for example, or is a leader in an organization, they are accountable to all of the people who put them there and authentically representing the interests of those people rather than their own interests. And that really helps me feel uh, really enthusiastic about the idea that it is worth organizing people to take action together in pursuit of really bold changes and to not be hesitant about the pursuit of power.
You're here. So to my viewers, I'm talking to Alison Nihart, who I apologize, is the executive director of Rights and Democracy, and that covers both the states of Vermont and New Hampshire. Now, the name of your organization, Rights and Democracy, covers a wide range of issues. What are the issues that this organization focused on this year, and what specifically is your vision for 2026?
So, yeah, historically, we have worked on a wide variety of issues from healthcare to housing, climate, minimum wage, paid sick leave, trying to address the overdose crisis in both states. And what at the moment, we've been scaling back, not trying to do everything at once because it is a lot of ground to try to cover. So at the moment, we are engaging on a few fronts. The first is we've had some housing work in Vermont. Now, I'll mainly talk about Vermont since you and I are both based in Vermont, and I assume most of your viewers are in
Yes,
Vermont.
they are. Absolutely.
We've been doing some work on tenant protections for the last several years. That started with the passage of a just cause eviction charter change in the city of Burlington. A similar charter change has since been passed in three other municipalities, Winooski, Essex, and Montpelier. And what we're seeing is that there's a lot of interest from tenants for these types of protections. And so we are exploring the possibility of taking that campaign to another municipality for the 2026 town meeting day elections. And also, the housing work has started to broaden out to include a broader vision of what a more equitable housing system might look like in Vermont. So expanding to other types of tenant protections, as well as, bold visions for what we might need to not to get ourselves out of this housing crisis that is causing so much pain for so many people. Uh,
You're here.
and another issue is just we are living in a really unprecedented moment with consolidation of power at the federal level in a very small set of hands. And a lot of people in Vermont are very concerned about what that means for us as Vermonters, what it means for the United States as a whole, what it means for a variety of people who hold marginalized identities, who are being targeted. And so we have convened a group of volunteers who are very enthusiastically organizing themselves and other people to take action on issues related to, the MAGA movements overtaking the federal government. And we're finding as we talk to people that that is really a top of mind for a lot of folks. And it's the thing that's making them feel politically anxious, and it's the thing that is making them want to get politically involved.
Yep. Thank you for that, Allison. So
Mhm.
rights and democracy. By the way, let's step back a little bit. Are you willing to tell me who the person was who gave you that advice about power?
Yes, it was Isaac Grimm. He was one of the first organizers who was hired on staff at Rights and Democracy. And I learned a lot from him. We worked alongside each other for many years. And he now ironically moved back to my hometown, Rochester, New York, where he's doing other organizing work on school and education
Thank you.
work.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Isaac, for giving you that wisdom.
yeah.
To my viewers, Rights and Democracy, also known as RAD, is a people-powered organization that strives to create a movement for social, economic, racial, and environmental justice across Vermont and New Hampshire. But I want you all to know that this is a member-driven organization. So if you support these initiatives, which are so important to our lives and our communities, I want you to visit radmovement.org and become a member to support this work. You can do that online, and I encourage you to do that. Allison, how many members do you have?
We have a few hundred members across the both states and growing. Every time we go out and talk with people, we are inviting new people into the movement.
Well, I think you need many more than a few hundred. So to my viewers,
Definitely do.
support this work. And how much is it to become a member, Allison?
So any donation amount, there is no particular set dues. Any donation amount makes you a member for a year. So if you've donated in the past 12 months, you are a member.
So, I mean, anything. So any donation,
Anything.
$10, $20, $100, whatever
Yep.
you can give makes you a member. You can sign up for their newsletters. It's really important for all of us to do this now and support this organization. Um, so RAD is committed to helping Vermont, and I don't know about New Hampshire, but we're going to talk about Vermont,
Mhm.
move toward universal health care. Talk to us why this is important and why is it so difficult when we are the only industrialized nation in the world that doesn't have it? And how is RAD helping to move the needle on this most important initiative?
Great question. Well, this is really an issue that is in our roots. A lot of the founders of Rights and Democracy came out of the campaign to have a universal health care law passed by the state of Vermont. And some of your viewers may know that that law was passed, but has never been implemented in Vermont. And the challenge really does come down to the entrenched political and economic interests in at all levels of government. And what we know is that healthcare costs less when we pool everyone, as large a population as you can, into one pool. It costs less when we don't have a ton of administrative costs going into billing a variety of insurance companies and negotiating all of their policies. We know it costs less when we don't have exorbitant salaries for CEOs and returns prioritized returns for stakeholders. And we know that there are better patient outcomes when people aren't feeling as though when it is not the case that someone's ability to pay is limiting their ability to get care. So that is why we really strongly believe in having a universal, publicly run healthcare system. And the challenge has been the entrenched interests. And until we have enough people in seats of power who are willing to take on the health insurance industry, we are not going to be able to really move the needle much. We're just finding that we need people who believe that, who are willing to take action. And what we need is enough people on the outside of that system as well to pressure those in seats of power and to say this is the only option that is going to make sense for us as a country, as a society.
Now, there are some powerful groups. I mean, Deb Richter's group has been working on this for 25 years. And then there's also a group that's being led by Lisa Ventris, with a group of really business people to do this. So I hope Brad is connected with all those groups and is part of that coalition.
Yeah, we try to do coalition work whenever we can because there are so many of us trying to do good work. We can't do it all, and we're stronger. We're always stronger together.
Always stronger together. So
Yeah.
this fall, we have no burn regulations because of this incredible drought we're going through. As you know, climate change is for many their number one concern. So what is RAD doing to fight our planet's health and the future of our species?
So at the moment, we are mostly doing conversations, organizing with people to find out, what's going on in their lives. And one of the most significant ways that one of the most significant climate impacts that we have as Vermonters is the way our homes are heated and cooled. And so this has been a point of connection with our housing organizing, is highlighting the fact that renters in particular don't have the ability to weatherize their homes, to upgrade their systems, to their heating and cooling systems, to more efficient systems, because their landlords are the ones who are able to make those kinds of improvements to the housing stock. Our rental housing stock is extremely old, and all of our housing stock in Vermont is extremely old, but the rental housing stock is as well. And there is not an incentive for landlords to make those types of investments. And so what we're calling for is standards where there would be incentives and also expectations for rental units to be weatherized, which both reduces the climate impact of home heating and cooling, as well as reduces the pocketbook impact of the folks who are living there who have to pay the utilities, and of course improves their quality of life when they're not dealing with drafty homes or these increasingly hot summers where we might have overnights in the 80s and 90s, so you never even really have an opportunity to cool your house down.
Gosh, I have so much to ask you, and I'm going to have to move on to some of my questions here. I have so much that I found about this organization that just inspires me so much. But I'm going to move on to and to my viewers. I mean, please go to the website, which is radmovement.org, and look at these programs that the Rights and Democracy have. They're amazing. Federal Resistance Action meetings, and but we're going to move on because I want to talk to you a little bit about this LEAD-VT program, which is a full-throated collaboration between some of Vermont's strongest organizations that advance policies that support human rights.
Yeah, so LEAD VT is a collaboration with several organizations, including Vermont Conservation Voters, uh, Planned Parenthood, VPIRG, and others. And it was born many years ago out of the recognition that we need more professional development opportunities, more trainings for people considering running for office or who want to support candidates for office. And what we've found over the years is that a lot of folks who come through these trainings find them very valuable in helping them make their decisions about whether to run for office and also setting themselves on the path to having successful campaigns. So we do have some trainings coming up in the next month in Middlebury and Fairleigh. Unfortunately, we had one in Rutland, but we had to cancel it. So if folks are interested, I would encourage you to check out a post that we recently have on the Rad Movement website. And you'll get basically, an overview of everything from communications to to finance, putting together a budget, what you have to do for your finance compliance filings with the state, how to go out and talk to voters, how to deal with your data, all those sorts of things.
Thank you so much. And that again, you can get that at the website. Please visit the website, Rights and Democracy. So so to my viewers, you have volunteer opportunities. For my viewers, how do they get involved in this organization?
Well, the best way to get involved is to contact us, really, because we like to get to know people. And so if you can come to one of our events, that's great. But if you want to get involved, you can also just contact us on the website and say, hey, I live, in a particular part of the state. I'm interested in getting involved. And then we'll have an organizer give you a call, maybe set up a one-on-one meeting in person if you're in a geographically, easy to get to space, and just get to know each other because we want to find ways for people to plug in that matches their skills and interests. And so that could be, joining one of our committees that is working on an issue. It could be volunteering on a phone bank that we do, or a door knocking campaign, or showing up to table at an event. It could be going, doing a deeper dive behind the scenes on particular policy issues. If you're someone who is extremely intimidated by the idea of talking to people, maybe you want to do some policy research and help us in that way. So there's a variety of ways to get involved, but the first step is for us to get to know you.
And go on the website. Is there a phone number that people can call?
There is, and that's on the website as well. Yeah, radmovement.org.
Okay. You don't want to give that phone number?
I don't know it by heart right now,
Okay.
but I can
All right.
I can pull it up while we're talking.
That's okay. Radmovement.org. To my viewers, please visit the website. There's also a place on the website where people can share their stories. So I was wondering, is there a reason why you do not list your staff or board members on the website?
Yeah, there is. So we are in a moment of unprecedented political divisiveness. And what we are seeing is that some organizations are being targeted, some individuals are being targeted, individuals are being doxxed, which is when their personal information is released, their home address, phone number, etc. And we know that some of the work we're doing could make us a target for individuals who are feeling angry and are looking for something to strike out against. And so at the moment, we've taken our information down. Doesn't mean we won't ever put it back up, but for the moment, we decided to just be a little bit more private about
Thank you for
ourselves.
letting me know that, because I really wanted you to talk about that. And if you feel uncomfortable about putting up the phone number, I'm good about that too. So
No, I've got it right here.
Okay.
So it's 242-0519.
Thank you so much, Allison. So why are the politics so different in Vermont and New Hampshire? I mean, what's that all about?
That's a great question. I mean, there's some people who believe that the difference in politics and comes from different cultures that arose from the different types of agriculture that are the result of the geology of each state. So if you can go really deep to some people's theories about how the geology of the state affects the politics of each state. But I think that when it comes down to it, like there are some interesting differences in the way that the states are set up. Vermont has a much smaller population than New Hampshire. New Hampshire has some interesting differences in how their legislature is set up. We have um, uh, still one of the larger state legislatures in the country, with 150 House members and 30 Senate members. New Hampshire has over 400. And with that, there are, it's very difficult to find people to run for office. They also don't provide much compensation to people who are serving in the legislature. We don't in Vermont either. It's not a professional salary by any means, but in New Hampshire, it's more like $100 for, a session. And so there's sometimes very low engagement in the legislature because people are working jobs and can't actually show up to the state house. So, I wouldn't want to go so far as making broad sweeping generalizations about the people of New Hampshire versus the people of Vermont, but I think there are some interesting structural pieces that make it
Thank you.
challenging. Yeah.
So I just find it fascinating that 30% of our country, and it's only 30%, by the way, folks, they're willing to support a movement that is deeply engaged in destroying our rights and democracy. So I thought that this all would have died with grab 'em by the pussy, but obviously it hasn't. I don't think the movement's necessarily growing, and I think that things are turning around. But Allison, we do have the 250th anniversary of our country's independence coming up in 2026. Does RAD, Rights and Democracy, have any plans for this important event celebrating 250 years of our rights and our democracy?
We don't have anything specific on the books at the moment, but I think it is an incredible opportunity for us to highlight the civic responsibility that we have as Americans to ensure that our government is representing our needs and that we are living in a democracy. There are some who are saying that we aren't living in a democracy anymore because of the ways that the federal government is defying, norms across the board, and that the will of the people is not being accurately represented in the actions of the federal government. And so, I think that we do have an incredible opportunity to do some political education around the 250th anniversary to celebrate the progress that we have made as a country in terms of extending rights and human rights to more people than originally had it at the founding of this country, and to use it as a call to action for us to continue on that noble tradition.
Thank you so much for that. Again, to my viewers, I encourage you to visit the website, radmovement.org. Talk to us about, well, we're running out of time and I wanted to ask you this question, but anyway, I'm going to ask you, what words of wisdom would you give our children on how to navigate this world that they are growing into? I mean, what do you tell our children about their future?
That's a fantastic question. I think one piece that I felt growing up was that there was a tension between this sense that things weren't as good as they could be, but I was also being told, oh, things are so much better now than they were in the past, and they're just going to keep getting better. And we've not seen that borne out. We've seen inequality get worse. We've seen environmental destruction get worse. So I would say, one important thing is to never lose hope, but to recognize that we can't lose sight of our responsibility to ensure that our democracy is healthy through our civic engagement, because we can't just assume that things are going to get better. And I think, the reality is that probably young people these days uh, aren't assuming that, because they're seeing some things take a turn towards less tolerance, more injustice, and such. But I heard something actually just yesterday about the power of young people in movements. And I'm not going to be able to quote it directly, but the person was saying young people haven't seen enough of the world yet to know that some things are impossible to change. And so they believe so deeply that it is possible to do the impossible that sometimes they actually are able to do it. And
Well,
I found that really powerful.
all you have to do is look at our generation, the 1960s. I mean, we brought in civil rights, women's rights, disability rights. We burned our bras and we said enough is enough. And so our generation was able to do it with only 17% of our generation. Well, listen, we are at the end of this interview. Alison Nihart, the Executive Director of Rights and Democracy. Um, Thank you for all your hard work, the work of your staff, your volunteers, the people involved in this organization. Um, I'm just honored to know you and really so happy that I can be with you today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to chat and to share about our work.
Thank you. And to my viewers, it's a beautiful day here in Vermont, and I hope you can get outside and enjoy some of it. I will see you soon. Bye bye.